I want to say out loud that the Canadian banks are among the best in the world.
A sitting duck loan is a wealth management bank technology. My name is Tony Crawford, and my books and my card games are about the ultimate corporate rip-off, where the target wears a hat as a sitting duck for a namesake loan.
In his case, he has brought it to my attention. I have received all the papers that he has about his case, and I have taken them to the finance department, and I believe they ended up in the office of the superintendent of financial institutions. The answer we got back over that was that nothing could be done.
I would like to take my hat off to the incredible ingenuity of sitting duck loans. In Canada, they are well camouflaged among loanies. They are legally binding. They are sleepers with great longevity. Indeed, they are rarely noted, unbelievable predators. And as you heard, we can do nothing about them. In 8 years litigation, with reports ignored by 2 Prime Ministers and 21 complaints rejected by 21 government agencies, all we sitting ducks can do is petition for consumer protection. The publication of The Perfect Sting was followed by the resignation of a chief executive of retail banking that denied the existence of sitting duck loans. All this was happening while Peter Cormus was suggesting an investigation into lending practices, which Jack Layton and Howard Hampton and about 1,000 people have signed up for as a good idea. Right now, the storybook scandal is a public awareness card game that continues with an Oakville Conservative candidate who, as a banker, may know the answer to the question the NDP asked in the last election.
Let's move now to the first call, and on the line we have Tony. Tony, are you there? With your question, please.
Well, this is to do with consumer protection and a scam known as sitting duck loans that the Liberal Party has promised protection on, and also reopening an OSC investigation that's been quashed. The question is, if a government knew of a sleazy bank practice that tricks people into debt with tied loans based on third parties representing other people's signatures to link secret debts with retirement investment plans, would a government side with the banks to allow profiteering to continue, or would a government expose it and do something to protect people from a debt crisis?
Tony presented this situation to the NDP during Riding Association at the beginning of December, and you may also have seen his highly visible van parked around town to publicise his indignation. As Tony described his experience of an identity theft to the NDP members at the town restaurant, their reaction swung from the initial denial, that doesn't happen in Canada, surely, to doubt and then horror at the idea that yes, it could, and it probably happens more often than we realise if it was allowed to go unchecked. Success in banking is all about maintaining the trust of your customers, and to misquote Oscar Wilde, failing to verify the identity of the person seeking a loan once is careless. Doing it 100 times will certainly lose you the trust of your customers. This practice is certainly identity theft, a crime that's apparently much more widespread in Canada than we realise. Hundreds of Canadians have suddenly found themselves responsible for millions of dollars in debt. You have to acknowledge the situation that exists and then strengthen the powers of the Security Commission so they can prevent this practice.
I took some time about 8 weeks ago to meet with him in his home to understand his issue and to look for potential solutions. And I've committed, if we form a government, I will meet with the new Minister of Finance and we will correct the situation and put it in legislation and stop it from happening.
In all banks, and this is just from my personal experience because that's where I'm employed, that if you are not following, compliance and audit regulations, then you're not doing your job and a bank isn't going to keep you around for a very long time. Second of all, if that is happening, then I believe that as soon as the government finds out about it, they would put a stop to it, most definitely. And also, I think that banks have to be, doing their due diligence to ensure that they are knowing their customer, they know the person who's sitting across from them, and that they're not doing anything that has to do with tied loans, which is also illegal. It's illegal to do any sort of tied selling. And I think that, yes, the government would definitely be against that and put a stop to it right away.
Bonnie Brown.
Thank you very much. I too am aware of Tony and his case. He has brought it to my attention. I have received all the papers that he has about his case, and I have taken them to the finance department, and I believe they ended up in the office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions. The answer we got back over that was that nothing could be done. Now, the good news is that the Canadian Bankers Association has identified identity theft as one of the #1 problems facing the world in this new era of the internet, etc. And they have a project ongoing right now that is trying to come up with solutions to it. I know that Tony feels very negatively about the banks, but I think I want to say out loud that the Canadian banks are among the best in the world. Thank you.